This is where the exhaust manifold meets the rest of the system. Mine here is just a tube. Typically what you have here is your secondary catalytic converters, which I got rid of. Then you have this tube. It's a Y pipe. They usually meet right there as a Y. And then for me, I mean, that's what I did over here. Kept going, you know, as you can see, kept going there. And I have a lot of flanges in my system because I wanted something easily serviceable. So that's why I have that. You know why? There's usually, you know, I mean, obviously flex pipe over here. There's usually, in the stock application, there's another one here. There is, like some sort of a muffler glassback thing going on. I removed that one. That was one of the first things I removed. Then keep going, you know. Water. This is from the water is from the cooled seats. The condensate drips down here. Okay, then come here. Then again the separate, and the reason is that where I got a Y is you Y out again, and then you have two resonators. One over here typically, the other one over there on that side. Once you get here, this is where the resonators are. The other side of it, that side over there, you'll notice once you jump over the hump, there's a valve thing over there. It's a butterfly valve. That is, you know, it's a, you can call it a cutoff or whatever you want to call it really. But the Y34s had that system. Unfortunately, I hear water. Unfortunately, they both come back in the stock application. Both come back in here and meet into the muffler, into the exhaust muffler. At the end of the day, the Y34 gets that. That's what you see from the back, nothing else. Just two tips on the left. So those are still factory, haven't changed those. I'm gonna make an effort to sketch out the exhaust layout of this car. I have a 2003 Infiniti M45 V8 engine. So 4 banks on one side, and then let's go to the exhaust manifold. That's the O2 sensor. That's a primary cat. That's a flange, which in my video is kind of where I start. That's why it becomes visible. The secondary O2 sensor. That's a secondary catalytic converter. That's a flex pipe. It goes into a Y. Then, if I remember correctly, I actually removed mine, but you have one of the first mufflers over here. Which then comes out here into another Y. But then this Y over here is where you have your resonators. Same thing on the other side. I usually like to draw my resonators like glass packs. This one, I tried to make it a little skinnier. I'll come back to that point in a little while. That's a butterfly valve over there. It's part of Nissan's dual muffler system. And these guys meet together here. Into another suitcase, which is your exhaust muffler at the very end. So let me label these things. Secondary catalytic converter, and as you can see, this one's not monitored here. So this sensor here and this sensor here tell you the health of this catalytic converter here, the primary one. This one here, no one tells you anything. Then come here. I'm not really sure what to call this. And this is your muffler. In some cars, the thing you actually have here, those are mufflers. Then you have a resonator at the end, so it just depends on what you've got. So this butterfly valve that I was talking about here, it's a dual mode muffler. It doesn't open all the time, but when it does, it gives a really nice sound to your car. The thing is, for cars that are not driven much, cars that sit and cars that may be driven short distances, and that's a general statement. For cars that are driven short distances, that is, you don't drive them long enough to expel all the moisture being formed in the exhaust system, in the exhaust piping. those tend to corrode a little faster than others. It's worse when you have this thing that opens sometimes, maybe high RPM or something like that, because then what happens, you have water collecting in here. And typically what we see is complaints of rattling under the car or some sort of noise, and it's usually this material in here breaking down after a while. So some people just totally bypass it. Some people leave this, they just wire this flap open. Really depends on what you do, but I like to get on the throttle a little enthusiastically, so to say, every once in a while, just to open the system up. So here you go. That's a 2003 Infiniti M45 system. This right here is a flange. Let's just call it flange A. I'll come back to it and explain. So you've got your secondary catalytic converter here, and then that flex pipe, to a line pipe, to, your regular common pipe with a flange in between. Then this is where the Y comes up again. It splits into two, and then you've got two resonators. I like them. They're like glass packs, they're just tubes, which is pretty cool. And then those two go individually. Those resonators go individually into a muffler. So this is what you got. And then each muffler over here has two tips. So at the end of the day, with this vehicle, you end up having a quadruple tip setup, right? And that's the other side. Just gotta trust it. So it's a pretty cool sound. I actually like it. It's pretty good, Hey yo, we're back. This time we're talking about the 2006. So just got done looking at that one. So this is what you have with the 2006, well, 6 through 10. So what you have here is so it is, you see some similarity between that one and this one right here, right? The 2003, you have engine into primary O2 sensor to your primary cat. Same thing here. Primary O2 sensor to your primary cat. Then secondary, your downstream O2 sensor to your secondary cat. Same thing here. Flex pipe, Y pipe, flex pipe, Y pipe. Difference is this one's got a muffler here. This one doesn't. It just goes into another Y pipe. I can't remember if the distance is the same. Not really sure. Then this one's got resonators, and that's why I like drawing them as glass packs. Then you've got two resonators over here. Whatever you see here is the same thing that's happening here. Then you got a muffler. So then you've got two tips. Then here you've got two tips on each muffler, and you've got quad tips. So dual exhaust quad tips, single exhaust dual tips, or twin tips. So, alright, let's jump on to the next one. So, as usual, we do a little bit of exhaust work while under here. The best we can to look at it. So there you go, you've got a flange, and this is your secondary catalytic converters. Those go to your flex pipe, a little bit of flex pipe over there, into a Y. So far it looks familiar, right? Then, here's the Y right here, into a short straight section into a flange. Then a little, well, that's really short actually, to another Y. And this Y goes into resonators. So far it looks familiar, even the design of the resonators, right? Those are the standard issue for the, well, in quotes, for the M45 as well. The difference is that everything's just bigger in the M56. Those pipes are bigger. Then each of those resonators individually go into an exhaust muffler over here. And the difference between this and the M45 muffler is that this is single tip. So, and the tips are much wider too. So there you go. That's the difference. They look good actually. Hey, we are back.
I wanted to do the M56 one, but then I realized pretty much everything is the same, except down here, when it comes to 2011. It's a really wide tip. So, this is it, you know what I mean? Might as well, I could draw the whole system, but, so I might as well just label that, you know? So the VK45DE, as well as the VK56VD engine, those pretty much that's the layout. Then the other one, this one is in the M45s. It's 03 to 04. The Q45s, I believe the layout should be the same, but honestly I haven't been underneath one yet. So maybe. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that helps lay things out a little. I mean, it's just part of the series is just to try and show what changed and what stayed the same. And oh, another thing I should mention here. The 2003 and you know that model range, the catalytic converters would go bad. These guys over here, for whatever reason, they used to crack. I think it was a design deal. They used to crack somewhere here. So some of them will be welded, some of them will leak, you know, when you warm them up and stuff like that. When I bought mine, it came with this catalytic converter gutted, and it would get intermittent PO420 code. Sometimes it would just go away by itself. I really couldn't replicate what made it go away. I think highway runs would make it go away. So what I decided was to try and get this exhaust manifold from a 2006, which I did. So I got that guy. As you can see, the layout is the same, right? And I managed to bolt it on my engine. I just changed the studs on the head, and I managed to make the same catalytic converter work. And the only difference is that the flanges are different, you know. So when you're looking at it straight on, so you're looking at this end, like looking at the circle. I think for the 2003, the flanges were probably here and here, right? And the other one, it was 90 degrees of whatever that was. So I did not modify this, by the way. I modified this because this was a custom system. And my thinking at the time was that instead of buying these expensive things all the time, because even when you buy from Infiniti, the left one is actually more expensive, which happens to be the one that fails more often. I just decided to change this system so that every time I can just go to a junkyard or whatever, buy this and make this work, right? So just another thing, one of those neat things or headaches of the M45 system, all right?